every person be subject to the governing authorities. Now, never read Romans 13 without reading Romans 12:14, because then you begin to see that applies also to Caesar. Do not avenge. Do not avenge. And then you'll begin to get a sense of how Christians in America have failed to read Paul well because they want to read Paul as underwriting democratic presuppositions of government that assume somebody's got to kill somebody in the name of Jesus. Now, that's what I don't think Paul will let you do if you read Romans 12 in relationship to Romans 13. And that's the reason why it seems to me we have so little good religious discourse in this country, because most American Christians don't know how to read the Bible well. And they don't know how to read the Bible well because they're Americans before they're Christians. It is only when we recover the disciplinary forms of a people set apart who will say, no, it's not a war on terror. It was murder, and you don't go to war against murderers. It's only when American Christians are able to have their speech disciplined in that kind of way that we might be able to produce a candidate that could say something truthful. You're just not going to get it when you continue to underwrite the sentimentalities of the civil religion in the name of Christianity.
Dr. Greear?
Thank you. Dr. Hauerwas actually and I agree on something very fundamental, and that is the Christ-like disciples' response to evil or injustice or whatever you want to call it.
I assume you apply that to George.
I feel like, I know in religious discourse the example is we need to hear each other out. So on Romans 13, you may not read it in separation from the context of Romans 12, but you have to read that whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, for rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Would you have no fear for the one who is in authority? Then do what is good, and you will receive his approval, for he is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain, for he is a servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. Now, hold on. Paul said, Acts 21:25, when he was standing before Festus, he said, if I've done anything worthy of death, then let me die. Thus conceding that in his mind, that Caesar had the right to put him to death if he was worthy of it. That's the same thing he's saying here in Romans 13. You can't just cut out the fact servant of God to promote justice and righteousness. I understand Christ-like discipleship, what that implies. I understand what it means to not overcome evil with good, not overcome evil with evil. But you have to you acknowledge that when Paul is interpreting these things, what he is saying is there is a right of the government as the minister of God to promote justice, and he uses the term sword and worthy of death. That is clear. But I really feel like that will get us off subject until a later time, so if I can come back there, and I'll give you plenty of time to have last word on that.
Do you want to get involved in this?
I wouldn't.